da 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 bum bum da 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 bum 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 bum. Yeah, we're here. We're here and we're queer as always. And I guess we're gonna be talking about this film. So excited to talk about this movie. I feel like passive aggressiveness is going to become a very huge thing on this podcast as we talk about these movies. X-Men: The Last Fucking Stand, which is the third movie in the X-Men trilogy series. Back when they had no idea what they were doing with these films, they were making them anyway because they were making money. This film, directed by the ever wonderful Brett Ratner as well. We've had a great director in Bryan Singer has two movies. So it's great to throw the torch on to another very commendable guy, Brett Ratner. It's very ironic that the X-Men films have been directed by all terrible men. So this storyline obviously tackles the Dark Phoenix storyline. That's supposed to be involved with Jean Grey, and then also it's tackling the Cure storyline. The Cure
from Joss Whedon.
Yes, from Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon actually started that story in his Astonishing X-Men storyline, which was handled a lot way better than this because it was one plot and not 1,000 plots like this movie. And again, a story that was helmed by another alleged terrible white man. That has been accused of doing and saying some really awful things behind the scenes. Poor X-Men. But yeah, the Cure plot, and then what else? Angel's plot with his dad, which still is the Cure plot, but then you have Magneto's stuff, and then the professor has issues because he's a dick in this one out of nowhere. Everyone, this character assassination.
Bro, it's absolute no.
Yo, when we were watching it, Devin was just like, Rogue's a bitch. And we don't mean like a bitch as in like she's mean. We mean like a bitch as in like she just like clocked out right at the beginning or when shit goes down.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the beginning of the movie. Which is, I guess the beginning part is where Xavier and Magneto come to visit young Jean. And this was like the very first time they did the CGI to make actors look young, right?
Yeah, the very first time.
These movies, and even though they do get a lot of shit and like they aren't that great, they have set in motion a lot of stuff for other
CGI effects were next level. You can really see the progression in these movies.
Honestly, I wasn't thinking about the special effects. I was thinking, wow, this can't fall in line with First Class or Apocalypse. Like, there's no way. There's no way.
Well, I mean, technically, those movies are reset timelines. I don't think we have any idea what the fuck happened between.
I think that's like a whole Days of Futures Past timeline.
But even then, like, the flashback takes place in the 90s, I guess, and Dark Phoenix takes place in the 90s. There's a whole other thing, like, where I don't know if the movie's contradicting itself or not, because it goes to the next flashback with Angel, and it just says 10 years later.
Yeah.
But he looks like he's like 5, but like when we get back to The Last Stand, he's like 30.
Yeah.
Should he be like a teenager?
He looked like in his 20s.
But still, even if he was in his 20s, the kid that they like casted in the flashback looked way too young.
He was like 9.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably like 9 or 10. He probably just looked tiny. Ooh, maybe you're judging his wing size and not his age.
Wow.
If you watch that scene, like with your eyes closed, it literally sounds like a kid who's trying to hide the fact he's masturbating from his dad.
And honestly, when I first saw it as a teenager, I thought that was happening.
You thought that was what was going on?
Yeah.
And then as Jean is demonstrating her telekinesis to dead-eyed Xavier and Eric, we actually get to see one of our first major cameos in Stan Lee and Chris Claremont. And as you guys know, I'm sure, I hope you know that Stan Lee essentially created the X-Men back in the 60s with Jack Kirby. But Stan Lee has always been the prominent spearhead of the X-Men franchise as a whole. And Chris Claremont was actually the writer of the Dark Phoenix arc in the X-Men comic book series. So great lineup of cameos right there that is completely wasted in this movie.
We got Chris Claremont and a Stan Lee cameo in the same movie.
And
Too bad it was this movie.
It's this movie, right?
Yes, well, Stan Lee's the one that created the original X-Men. So Cyclops, Beast, Iceman, Jean, and Angel. Huh?
Wow, they all are in this movie. I never thought about that.
Yeah, this is the only movie where we get the original X-Men lineup. Too bad they don't share a single second of screen time together. But when we go to Chris Claremont basically created and made the X-Men as popular and as mixed as it is now. So he's the one that created not Wolverine, but he basically made Wolverine popular. Like it became a lot of famous storylines. But he did create like Storm and Colossus and Nightcrawler.
Mm-hmm.
Psylocke, a bunch of like really famous ones.
So then that takes us to the very much wasted Danger Room scene. And to bring it back to what you were saying earlier, Devin, about Rogue being a whole bitch, I realized that Rogue's part in this team, she's literally the kid who probably hates gym class. She's like, I don't want to do this today. They're making me go out here and run. What can I do other than touch everyone? That is how they set this Rogue up to be. Like, even when she gets Colossus's powers to like get the debris like knocked off of them, she doesn't even touch him. He has to be the one to think to touch her to protect her. And it's just like they couldn't even do that for her. She just
right. Well, there's another thing that literally just crossed my mind while watching it, like at this time, even though I've watched this movie a lot back in the day. The X-Men basically train all their students in hand-to-hand combat. So even if they don't use their powers, they're still able to defend themselves. Yeah. And you don't ever see that in any of the movies.
Nope.
And that's why most of the characters suck.
Yeah. We see that Storm's got herself a new hairstyle in this movie.
Well, I hated Storm's hair in this movie. And so did Devin.
Yeah, the chunky Cruella de Vil short, not
like she looks she looks like a suburban house mom. Or what was that? Who's that woman? Like she's like a comedian, but she's like in a lot of sitcoms. And she has that same exact hairstyle. She still has it to this day.
Oh, Reba.
Yeah. That's her hair. They gave Storm a white suburban mom's hair.
Reba is a country singer. Wait, is she a comedian too? I don't know. She has the sitcom show. Are you talking about a black woman or a white woman?
That's definitely a white woman.
Okay, then you think about probably Reba. Yeah, I don't know. I was very indifferent to her hair back in the day. But then now watching this, her wig shifts so frequently in this so frequently. Like it's so puffy in the back. Like it looks like whoever like Halle Berry's real hair, they couldn't get down low enough, so it's just puffy. Like
well, I did like seeing the Cannonball special.
That's the only thing Colossus can do in these movies is throw stuff.
Pretty much.
How do you feel about this randomly building tension between Rogue, Shadowcat, and Iceman that has like all of 3 scenes dedicated to it?
Watching that whole storyline, I was like, well, what is the point of this?
It was very weak. It was just weak.
Yeah, because they drop it by the time the battle starts.
I don't know. I think it's just like trying way too hard to make Iceman like hetero.
Well, yeah, when we were first watching it, Devin was just like, Shadowcat's a lesbian now.
Yeah. Whole lesbian. And that's the thing. Ellen Page doesn't not ever like play a lesbian.
Yeah. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, for anyone that's listening, but I think Shadowcat was miscasted bad in this movie. But I think all the other actors that they hired, like Beast and Angel and basically everyone else was casted pretty well. It was too bad the script sucked.
And even then, I still think Ellen Page could have added more, at least like sarcastic wittiness.
She could have made her more funny, yeah.
Yeah, if
Like
it
she
was,
didn't try.
but none of these characters have personalities except Wolverine. That's the problem with all these movies. None of these characters have any type of personality.
And I guess like the third movie as well, because Kitty is not really Kitty in this movie, and there's no Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
And Iceman, who's kind of also lighthearted as well, is kind of like too, like,
moody.
No, just too like. I guess it's like they're trying way too hard with their hetero
We're
story.
so stuck on them trying to make him straight.
Yeah.
Like, it's not gonna happen.
You had Colossus right there. You could have just gave like Colossus and Katie like a relationship and have them like play off of like each other's powers.
Yeah, that's so stupid. Like later on where Shadowcat is saying like, you know, it's not the same. You have Rogue and I don't have anyone. It's like, girl, you literally have Peter, Pieter, however they want to pronounce it in this one. You literally have that man next door and you could crawl on him if you want. Climb him like a fucking tree, Kitty. But no, that's how you know that both of them are just so gay.
Yeah.
That scene of them walking down the sub basement in their outfits, I used to think was like the coolest scene. I remember they used that in the teaser scene, or the teaser trailer of the movie, and I remember thinking, "Oh shit, is this the scene where they're about to go into battle as a team? Like, is that Rogue right there? Is that Shadowcat? And like Iceman, I thought that was gonna be the coolest thing, and then we got that."
Literally, the trailer was such a lie.
I don't know. It just like y'all said, it's a really weak storyline. It just seemed like a little teen side story they wanted to give the younger cast, and they could have done a lot more with that. We could have really explored why Rogue felt some type of way about the cure and why she wanted to actually take it, and we didn't get anything of that. And I think her and James Marsden, I remember reading that they were both filming a movie, other movies at the time of this being shot. And that's the reason why I think they're like the least in it because of that. And I think there was like an option for like Brett Ratner to like hold off on production so they could finish up their movies and be in this movie more. And he didn't wait.
Right.
We got the treatment of their storylines, which I think that brings us to Scott in bed sulking over Jean because that's all he does. He has 3 scenes in this whole movie.
Yeah.
Does he have 3 scenes?
Oh yeah, he does. 3 or 4.
And I remember I'm actually looking at it right now. I have the novel version of the book, like the novelization of like X-Men: The Last Stand, which is like certain aspects of the story are significantly better that's actually in the movie. And I remember reading specifically that in Scott's scene where he's like sulking about Jean, he was actually supposed to be like naked under his like sheets and shit and have like scruff all over his face. And I thought we were gonna get that in the movie, and we didn't. We couldn't even give my man's a sexy scene before he died.
If there was ever a time where Cyclops was supposed to take center stage in the spotlight, it should have been this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All the scenes that happened between Jean and Logan should have been between her and Scott. They had both gotten like those psychic signals that she was out in the woods, and that could have been a good Cyclops and Wolverine team up when they both go out there for her. We see Kelsey Grammer as Beast for the first time. We cut to that scene and him in his office hanging upside down reading his books. And I that was another thing these movies have done really well is casting him as Beast. He's a really great Beast. Really great Hank McCoy, you know. Mystique. We see Mystique. And again, character assassination. Like, this is the most that we find out about this iteration of Mystique. And the most we find out about her, the moment we do, she's gone. So that's really annoying. But she talks the most in this movie. And then everything about her is just kind of gone immediately. Yeah, I said that this movie lacks heart. There's some type of emotional stakes in all of them, in both of them, but this one, there's nothing. Like, even the emotional scenes feel very forced.
Well, I felt like the film was really rushed, and it felt like a cash grab.
It was too short.
And I don't know, it just doesn't, something feels off. Like, I noticed, like, already, like, for, like, most of the first act already, everyone's talking in puns.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did not think about that.
Like they're all talking in puns. I'm just like, what? Like I think Professor X has like 2 or 3 like weather puns to Storm in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, the storm. He said they called for clear skies today, and then he does
I
that.
don't have to be psychic to know something's wrong.
Uh,
And
yeah.
then like he totally like throws Cyclops, his first student, under the bus, and is just like, "Look,
Yo,
Cyclops is a changed man. Like you need to be the leader
yeah,
because you know how fast the weather can change."
yeah. Xavier in this
He
movie is
was such
a
a
dick.
dick.
He's a dick in this movie. He sucks. Like completely different version of himself in the first 2 movies. They did a huge 180 with him in this one. Every character, this whole movie, literally character assassination everywhere.
Yeah, he was real different. Like I was like, what?
Professor Xavier is a jerk.
And the words of Kitty Pryde.
The words of fucking King Pride. If she had said this, yo, this would have been a great time for her to have said this in the movie. Like there was one big team meeting about like what he did to Jean, and she's like really pissed off about that because Jean was like her favorite teacher or something like that, and she could have, man. And I mean, granted, Professor Xavier is not perfect, far from it. In the comics, I mean, Kitty calls him a jerk for a reason, but geez, the way that they set him up in these first 2 movies and just completely decimate him and his character in this, it's 0 to 100 real quick. Despite him being a dick in this one, I do like that Storm and Xavier do clearly have more of a relationship in this because that felt like that was lacking in the other movies. Um, but yeah, Xavier is honestly cool with everybody in these movies except Cyclops. The one dude that he needs to be cool with because that's his right hand dude. They have one scene together. No, they have two scenes together over in all 3 movies, and that's it. It's the one scene in the X-Men, the first X-Men, and then when they're together in X2. And what does Scott do? He fucks up in both of those scenes. Okay, then so yeah, they announced the cure and they're talking about how they've made a breakthrough and all this other stuff. And then that's when Rogue finally has her time to shine. She's like, yo, I can get up out of here from all these weirdos. I don't give a fuck anymore. And then of course, Storm, Beast, and Wolverine and Xavier are talking about the cure and what that means. Oh, and then we get that nice scene between Storm and Beast. Let me go back to that when they like meet for the first time. So clearly they have an established relationship. So that goes back to what you were saying. We were talking about the first movie, how like all those other X suits obviously belong to past students. So that was Beast, obviously, and then I don't know who else the other student. We never went back to that. So who do you think the other students were that ended up being X-Men?
Oh God. Havoc.
Havoc.
Banshee.
But you're bold to think that they would have thought that out.
I'm just throwing out names because that's how this movie feels. Boom, boom,
cameos everywhere.
Devin said boom boom.
Boom boom. Hey, boom boom. Hey, don't sleep on Tabitha. Boom boom is a little bitch. I loved her. So the cure's been announced. Rogue is like, oh no, they can cure us, and Storm's like, shut up. No, they can't. You're an idiot. You need to be fine with who you are, miss. I can't touch anybody. And I think that could have been a really good moment for Rogue to like step up and defend herself and be like, thanks, like Professor Aurora, but I'm good. I need this shit because you can touch people. And I don't know, I think it would have been cool to have like a scene where Storm kind of apologizes to her for like coming off so brash, and then they can have a connection about how like Storm could have talked about how, her emotions are so tied to her powers. So even then that's something she can't control. And that's like her cross to bear with her powers. They could have really done a lot with establishing these relationships in these movies, and they just don't. I think that's again a recurring thing that happens in all of them. But there's just so many different ways and so many different perspectives that this movie should have had that it didn't have, and they could have been the whole movie in itself could have been made significantly better if more characters had like agencies with their storyline. Like, you never find out how Jean feels about any of this while all of this is happening to her. she's a zombie throughout half of the movie. Like, yeah, the Phoenix is like, I don't want to fix it. And the other Jean is like, no, kill me. But it's just like, how are you really feeling, girl? Like, what's going on?
For a story centered around the Phoenix, she had no storyline this entire movie.
They just made her scary.
Yeah.
Like the vein work and like the like black eyes. Like it was just more threatening and scary.
Yeah.
As opposed to like
Mother goddess energy.
yeah, more like cosmic energy
Mm-hmm.
gone wild.
Yeah.
With like within the hands of someone that's not like mature enough to handle it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Famke's performance of this whole movie, I think, proves that she could have really done really well with that storyline. Like, I believe her when she's evil, and she switches back and forth between like soft Jean and evil Phoenix really well. I think she's a really good actress in this, but again, the script was so shitty, so we got what she had to get, and poor thing.
Yeah, she got that one scene with Wolverine where they were like romantic, and then he was like, "No, you're not Jean."
Are they also trying to hint at the fact that, Wolverine might be a little gay on the low, because he's had a couple of opportunities to smash and he just he just does not take them. I don't know if Jack told you, Devin, but I've ever since you mentioned how like Wolverine should have, like, him and Mystique should have hooked up in X2, I have not been able to stop thinking about that, because yes, it would have made sense for them to fuck in that moment. Like, what?
I think I'm firmly under the theory that he's bi with Cyclops, and they're like that was like a whole like trio thing.
Oh, for sure.
Because even in this movie, like when Wolverine was trying to talk to Cyclops, Cyclops was like not having it. He was like, "No,
We don't all heal as fast as you, Logan."
But there's definitely like tension with Scott and Logan. Like that's in any iteration of their like story. Like they just always want to fuck each other, and they are now. I think in the comics they're all like in one big polyamorous, fun, happy time orgy fest. But yeah, there are times Wolverine definitely you would think he'd take advantage of certain situations, and good on him for being a better character for it. But I don't know. I feel like Wolverine definitely would have at least gotten a finger or two in, which. With Gene before he was like, okay, maybe we should stop this. But yeah, and then we kind of skipped over this, but then the Morlocks, we get the scene with the quote unquote Morlocks being very outraged about this cure. And they're in an abandoned church, which I'm pretty sure is probably supposed to be the same church that Nightcrawler was in, who is absent from this movie, and his disappearance is only explained in the X-Men official video game.
It wasn't even a good video game.
It was not. I still have the handbook somewhere, like the official like handbook guide, but the game got stolen years ago. So, and what was his reason for leaving? Right, he was like too haunted over the fact that he killed someone, so he had to like leave and like seek his religion all over again. Right, he went to go find himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we could just say he left because the X-Men were dicks to him in X2.
Good point. True. Damn, can you imagine like if they just like after they like intimidate the president, they were just like, all right, thanks for teleporting us all in there, Kurt. It's can you leave? can you get out of here? Thanks. So then we're back at the church, and then Magneto comes in, of course dropping a little wisdom in what he's saying. But also, I feel like throughout this whole movie, Magneto is a very lesser version of himself. Like, Magneto is kind of stupid in this movie.
Yeah.
Dumbed down, but beefed up in terms of power.
He's just really stupid. I feel like this was like the senile stage of his life in this movie. He's just like, oh, yes, we need to attack the humans by any means necessary.
He was making videos and shit, just being hot. You are not safe. Your family is not safe.
You are not safe. Now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna hide in the middle of a forest. Like, I was just like, why are they hiding out in the middle of the woods when he still has that fucking island from the first movie that nobody knows about?
So then we run through, we get an introduction of the other Morlocks who are going to be important later. We have Callisto, and then Arclight, And then I guess who's supposed to be Psylocke? They want to exterminate us.
I'm gonna just talk about the freaking selection and hodgepodge of mutants they decided in this movie. I honestly think that the film creators like just wrote down a bunch of names of characters they liked in the comics, wrote them on paper, threw them in a hat, shook it up, and like pulled out names, and then they decided to use them.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a random ass mix that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like for the Morlocks, it's going to be Callisto, Arclight, and Psylocke. 3 characters that had no history with each other whatsoever.
And then this porcupine bitch. I don't know who the fuck he thinks he is because he's not intimidating. Quill. He's not intimidating whatsoever. The moment that like Pyro shows that he can control fire and then that's what he can do, he might as well have just left the building.
You could sashay away, darling.
Like, but yeah, so then we see we go to the Worthington Labs and we see Kavita Rao, who actually in the X-Men, the Astonishing X-Men run that Joss Whedon wrote, she was actually one who developed the cure for mutants. But of course she's playing second fiddle to a white man in this movie, just like all of the women characters do in the X-Men movies for the most part. But then again, it also it falls a lot more in line for a rich white guy to want to create a cure for being who you are. So I'll take it. I'll take that change. I'll take that change. And then they come back to Cyclops 30 minutes into the film, and I literally said, I forgot he existed in this movie. This movie has too many fucking subplots happening at once. And they
don't go anywhere.
They go nowhere at all. At all. And then when he shoots his optic blast out into the water, I wrote, like, did he wake her up? Did Scott's little beams wake up the Phoenix?
Yep. He sure did.
That's cute for him, I guess. Jean is just fucking with all the guys whose minds she's been in. She's just fucking with all their minds in this movie. She's just playing around saying their names. Like, Scott, hey boy. Logan, hey, Logan, come over here. Logan, oh my God, find me. I said he should have saw something was off when he saw her lace front wig.
I like the color though. The color was nice.
Yeah, the color does look really nice on her.
I thought it was really out of character for Jean to kill Cyclops.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense whatsoever. It was just so. I wrote that too. I hate that she kills him. It's just.
Yeah, we don't even know he's dead, really. Like we know he's dead, but it's like just implied too much. We don't even see him on the ground.
Well,
like you don't see like what happens to him really, other than like his glasses just being there.
See, and I have a theory about that, and Jack thinks I'm crazy about this theory. But I think what happened was when the Phoenix took over, some shit did happen, and Jean did come back in time before something happened to him. But she sent out some type of cosmic wave or signal or something because she was standing so close to him. And Scott's dad up in space, Scott's dad's like a space pirate. What's his name? Kosar, right? Corsair, or whatever. He's a space pirate. So I think his ship ended up getting that signal. He came down to Earth, picked up Scott, and they ended up having like a whole space adventure off a little spin-off land. That's what I think happened, and that's my story. That's the story.
Sure, Jam.
That's the story. I'm sticking to it. I'm expanding the universe for these hoes. That took him into a whole intergalactic adventure where he got reacquainted with his dad and found out his brother was still alive. Cyclops got a whole spin-off movie off screen.
I think it would have been cool. It would have been cool if Cyclops, he got picked up by his dad and they went off to get Captain Marvel, and then Captain Marvel comes into the scene with the Rogue, and they got a face off, and that's how she gets strong. And then they could have given her that arc in this movie, and then had her be able to face off against the Phoenix, along with like someone else, like Emma Frost or something like that.
Well, I think with that, first of all, I feel like if they brought in Captain Marvel in this, I think Jean would have killed her instantly.
Yeah.
But then also too, that also what you saying with Emma Frost, that talks about the original script. So before Singer went to go direct Superman Returns for this one. When he went to go direct Superman Returns instead of directing the third X-Men movie, which also turned out horrible. But in his original plans,
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, in his original plans, he was going to bring Emma Frost in, and she was actually going to be in this movie. I'm pretty sure this whole movie was going to focus on the Phoenix had he been in charge of it.
Yeah.
I think
And it was supposed to be like an
Sigourney
old
Weaver.
version of Emma Frost, played by Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, so that would have been
Yeah.
interesting to see, but we didn't get that.
I would use the girl that plays the White Witch in Narnia. Who's that actress?
Oh, Tilda Swinton.
She would be like an older Emma Frost.
Oh, older.
But I feel like an older Emma Frost should be like bad. Like she should be like hot.
Wow. Unless Sigourney Weaver hate is for real.
I mean,
These
she's not
words.
like really hot. Like I mean, she's cute, but like somebody like
She's cute, but gorgeous about as cute. Or
like
whatever New York said.
like Cindy Crawford. Like
She's cute next to gorgeous.
That was it. That was the New York line, Jack.
I think Tilda Swinton would be a great casting choice.
I think she would be great. She would give that kind of like beautiful but haunting aspect to Emma Frost. Like she
has the voice too already.
Yeah, she would be hot with like some really white lipstick with like a nice gloss. Give her some poppin' makeup.
She looked like a little creepy Emma Frost who's just
yeah, like a 30-inch long like white wig, like girl do it.
She would have been like bitch I came from Narnia.
I could see that. I like that.
With an all white suit with a white cape.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She has like a little cane with her. She becomes a little white queen pimp.
They call me the White Queen.
Like on some Madonna shit.
So Scott's dead. Scott is dead, and then that's when Storm and Logan go to inspect it, and Storm has this new
unfinished virus suit.
Yeah, these movies are really good at wasting costumes. They waste so much money on these costumes. Like, I wonder what was the point even doing the measurements if an outfit was going to be used in one scene. This happens so often throughout these movies. And I actually think that suit, that little winter suit, whatever, looks beautiful on her had they finished it and used it more. I don't...
It literally looks like something you would be like making for a costume and you just stop midway because you ran out of time for the challenge.
They start mentioning when Callisto comes back, and I guess she can sense Jean. She tells Magneto that. They start randomly talking about class abbreviations for mutants that they didn't talk about before in the previous movie. Like, I mean, we get it.
Class 5.
Yeah, like a class 5 mutant higher than any class I felt before. They haven't said that in any of the previous movies at all, so that just seemed out of place for them. Like, I get we get that there are different levels of mutants. We know that, but like that's something that hasn't been established in this universe, which is just random. Which again, Jack, like you said, they probably like how they threw in characters in a hat. They probably threw in random terminologies for mutants and said, "Let's use this for that. That'll be cool."
That's how I felt like Brett Ratner's directing was the entire movie. Yeah, that would be cool. Let's do it. Well, let's not give a reason why.
Literally. And then we get that scene where Professor is trying to explain how Jean needed to be controlled after Storm and Logan have brought her back to the mansion. And that scene is just really hits it home for how shitty Xavier is, like in this version, how he does a complete 180. It's just...
And there's no foreshadowing to that, like in any of the earlier movies.
No. I mean, well, they do foreshadow that Jean is strong and she's capable of more, but they don't foreshadow that the Professor has had a hand in that. You know,
yeah.
Like, it's just really messy and just...
But to that regard, though, Professor X is known to be a bit of a liar and a conniving asshole to his students and comrades. So it's not completely out of character for him at all, because I mean, like we said earlier, Professor Xavier's a jerk. That's a line that Kitty does say about the professor after he's done some fuck shit. But it just seems so out of left field in these movies for him to have been this established father figure, all-knowing father figure in the first two films. And this one, he's just like, yep, did what I had to do.
And this storyline, another forced in subplot. I feel like if they wanted to really have this Cure storyline, I think it would have made more sense for the dad, Warren Worthington. I guess he's the junior, for him to be developing the Cure throughout this movie. And then Angel is another entry point for the world of the X-Men, kind of like how Rogue was in the first movie. Because it just feels like you're supposed to know more about him and care. I mean, yeah, it's heartbreaking, whatever, that his dad wants to get rid of this part of him. But again, you don't really know about this version of Angel. You don't know what his struggles are. You know, him being the rich playboy, but also he's like trying to be on the low because he has fucking wings out of his back and his dad is a mutant. Like, they don't explore that at all with him. He's just like this dopey frat guy who's like, oh, okay, I'm fine with this. I'm not fine with this. Whoa. It's just...
The people that should have been the main characters of this movie are not the main characters at all. Like, as I said before, like, Cyclops should have been, like, center stage in this movie. Jean should have had an actual storyline. And Angel, if they wanted to use the Cure, should have been one of the main characters, too.
Yeah, Angel could have gotten the hip about the Cure and could have also supplied the money.
Yeah, that would have been perfect. I didn't even think about that. He could have used his rich boy status and helped out in some way.
Basically, me and Devin were talking about how, like, after Xavier dies and the school is going to be shut down, that Angel literally walks into the room and that's the problem solved right there.
Yeah.
And they don't even mention it or bring that up. Like, you're a multi-millionaire. You can keep the school running. What are you talking about? Your dad's a freaking CEO.
There are moments in this movie where they literally hand up storylines and the movie literally just turns its back on it and just says, nope, we're not going to do that. That sounds like it makes sense. No. I remember like getting into this in X-Men around this time when Last Stand came out. That was when I was really huge on like reading and writing fan fiction. I remember reading so many fan fictions on X-Men Last Stand, people who rewrote the movie 10 times better.
And I mean, that's like essentially fan fiction. It's like, oh, the original writers did a shitty job, so I just need to come along and do their jobs better. I was a fanfic writer myself and actually contributed to a couple of stories at that time. Just saying. Don't know where they are now, but they're out there somewhere.
We cut to the scene where Magneto rescues Mystique, and he just goes ham on all of those squad cars, like just swats them away like flies, and I think that's pretty cool.
And then him and Pyro come into the containment cell area, and we meet these very glorified cameos.
They get those like really floppy introductions to all these characters, among them being Multiple Man, and then the fun Juggernaut.
The fact that they just brought in Juggernaut like that with no context of like who he is, other than like his power.
That prison breakout scene did bother me a lot.
Like,
first of all, why are they in civilian clothes?
Wait,
like Multiple Man's just dressed like how he is on the street. Shouldn't be in a like a prison outfit. But
see, I always got the impression that they kidnapped those people like from where they were. Were they transporting them from a prison?
Yeah, like from where Mystique was, and then like Multiple Man showcasing his powers while she's explaining that he robbed like 7 banks, and I'm just like, why would he do that? Like, that makes no fucking sense. Like, you don't know these people. And then, like, the whole thing with Juggernaut, he looks like a BDSM sex slave.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Seeing him is so disheartening.
I like the outfit, I just didn't like the helmet.
And I remember reading somewhere that Gambit was actually supposed to be on that truck, too. He was going to end up getting recruited in the Brotherhood.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen, obviously. And then we get the scene with Mystique, who gets shot. Again, character assassination. Gets shot with the Cure gun, and she's human again. So, what do y'all think about this? I really do not feel like Magneto would have left her. This is one of those things where I feel like Magneto's stupid in this movie, because he would not have left her like that.
No.
It's weird.
He would have kept her and found a way to revert it.
Yeah, exactly. He would have found a way to fix what had happened to her. And on top of that, she knows all of his shit.
Yeah,
Like,
and he could have still
literally.
used her in human form because
Yeah.
no one knows what she looks like as a human. She could have easily infiltrated the freaking lab.
She's
Yep.
a human now.
Yep.
Yeah, if they if they use a scanner or whatever, it wouldn't pick her up because she's a human now.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
she's loyal to their side. That's very valuable.
Yeah.
No.
So then, yeah, he leaves Mystique behind. And then this is when Jean and Wolverine have their moment and they almost fuck. And again, Wolverine has the hugest plot armor because I feel like if the roles were reversed, I feel like, no, because I don't think they would have killed Wolverine in these movies like that. But he definitely would have been incapacitated to some extent, and it would have been because of Jean in this movie. And I feel like that scene between him and Jean should have obviously been him and her and Cyclops. But
Yeah.
why didn't the professor feel any of that while she was shaking the entire sub basement? Why did he take so long to get down there? And then how did Jean leave the school unseen by anyone? I thought that was weird. That should have been a scene of her leaving the actual mansion and like her doing some mind control shit on everybody as she leaves, or there should have been like one action piece of her trying to get out the house and they stop her, something like that. But she just walks out. She's like, yeah, peace. I'm not Jean anymore. Bye.
Well, she could have. I know they're not. I know the creators of this movie wouldn't think of it, but she could have just like casted an illusion and cloak herself to not look visible to anyone in the mansion and walked out.
I hate this movie.
We all do.
Yeah. And then we get the scene at the Gray House where it's Jean, Scott, not Jean, it's Scott, no, wow, Scott's dead. Storm, Wolverine, and the Professor who show up here at the house. And Jack, I know we've talked about this, but it seems like the whole team should have been there, not just three of them.
And they should have been suited up.
And did Jean kill her parents? They never say. Or did she kill who was ever in that house? Because clearly that house is lived in.
I don't know. I would hope she would.
She's like, you don't live here anymore! Destroys them. What are you guys' thoughts on this scene overall? Just the Gray House, and then obviously what ends up happening there with the Professor and Magneto being a bitch and this being all the gaslighting Jean the entire time, and then when she actually acts out, he's like, oh no. What did I do?
I thought he was being overtly aggressive for no reason. I was just like, chill, calm down, Eric.
He was really getting her hype without knowing what she could do.
I mean, he knows enough to know better than that, honestly.
And the whole waste of opportunity. Like, you just recruited multiple man, and you just recruited Psylocke, and they're not in this fight at all.
So who could have fought who? Who do you think? So we're going to reconstruct the scene. Who is there in the scene, and then who's fighting who?
Well, they're not going to give Juggernaut and Colossus, so it's going to be Juggernaut and Wolverine.
Okay.
Storm and Callisto, that's a given. Where was Pyro during the scene?
I do not know. He should have been there, right? Would have made sense, right?
Well, Iceman and Pyro round one.
Rogue could have fought Porcupine. Remember she called Spike that?
Yeah.
Porcupine. She could have fought Quill. That would have been an interesting fight. Like mixing up the dynamic that the way her powers work is she has to touch people, but she can't touch him because Porcupine. And then that would be like a cool like hand-to-hand combat scene that him and Rogue could engage in. That literally should have been his only purpose in the movie, was to fight Rogue and she whip his ass.
Well, I mean, Shadowcat and Arclight would have been good. It would have been like an evolution with Avalanche and Shadowcat.
Yeah. Damn.
And I don't know who could fight Psylocke. Who's left? Colossus?
You don't think they would have put Colossus still with Juggernaut?
No.
You don't think that would have been their round one? See, what I imagined was like everyone who they fought at the house, they would have fought them again at Alcatraz. But obviously, that first fight scene at Jean's house, they would have failed at the fight. That would have been their moment where they were just like, "Oh shit, maybe we're not cut out to be X-Men. Like we couldn't even like fight on the field." And then obviously, through character development, they are magically able to fight those enemies again when they go to battle at Alcatraz. So
true. So yeah, Juggernaut and Colossus. I guess Wolverine and Psylocke, since he has a thing with beating up women.
Oh, well, if Cyclops is there, Cyclops could have fought Psylocke if you still want to do
Well,
that.
Cyclops could have fought multiple, man.
True,
He
true,
could have
true.
optic blasted each one of those clones.
Yeah, true. Okay. Yeah, that works. What about you, Devin? Who would you have put there and fighting who?
I'd have like two do like something crazy, like Iceman and then like Storm doing something wild, like making it rain and like him using the rain to like
Oh my gosh, to
completely
make ice
freeze them all.
spikes.
Oh, that would
Yeah.
be dope.
Trying to kill
People
them
that would
all.
fuck up. Yeah, they
Kill them all.
kill
Or
them.
trap them all in like a ice prison real quick. And then him developing his ice form
Yeah.
and him kind of getting freaked out about it, like
Whoa, Miss Frizzle.
like him like freezing. Like they could have had him like scenes of him like freezing in his sleep, but like getting semi ice form,
It's
kind of leading up to the end.
it would be the equivalent of him having wet dreams.
Yeah,
I just freeze the sheets.
And then we also, as that fight persists, we also get that scene of when Jean and Professor X have their mental battle that we don't hear, but is present in the deleted scene. And she ends up murdering the professor, and he just turns to dust. Very, very pre-Thanos and our Avengers Infinity War.
I feel like that could have been an astral scene.
What?
They're like fighting astrally in the astral realm.
An astral plane fight would have been cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
And then Xavier's dead, and I feel nothing.
He was such a dick. He wasn't lovable at all. He didn't make us like care. And then Cyclops is like not in the fucking funeral. He's like not there. It's just like his headstone.
They have a whole funeral for fucking Professor X, and they don't do anything for Cyclops.
Didn't he have a headstone at the end with Jean?
Yeah, at the end, but Cyclops died before Professor X, and they just totally ignore the fact that Cyclops is dead to give Professor X a funeral. And the rudeness of it all. The shade of it all.
Magneto, after gaslighting Jean to attack Xavier, absconds away with her, and obviously he's only using her as a weapon, which again, I feel like Magneto would do that, but he wouldn't do it to this extent. Like, and if he was going to use her like this, he should have had another psychic on his team to help mellow her out when she went crazy, and he did not do that. Something he could have
He
used.
does have another psychic on his team.
Psylocke, yeah.
Yeah.
So then, the scene where Iceman goes to comfort Shadowcat, even though he has a whole girlfriend also in that mansion too. But I like to think that Iceman went to Rogue first and just tried to talk to her, and she was kind of just like, I don't want to talk, leave me alone. Because if not, he really is just a shitty boyfriend altogether. He's just terrible. But then again, also, Iceman in this universe, Iceman and Kitty, they've known each other longer. So maybe he just wanted to reach out to her as a friend, or I don't know. He's shitty. He's just shitty. So we get that scene with them. And then obviously, and I don't know if y'all know, but in the deleted scene, they actually do kiss during that skating scene, which makes Iceman even more anxious, and Rogue even more of a bird for staying with him in the end.
Yeah. It's like they're trying to make us hate these characters.
Yeah. Oh, and then when Rogue gets ready to go take the cure, and I said this is a very sad culmination to Logan and Rogue's relationship throughout these movies. She's low key trying to tell her not to go, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Do what you gotta do, man. Because I don't know. That's what I would do. That's not on me. You do what you gotta do." And of course, the fact that she even has to think about the fact of whether or not she's doing it for Iceman is very stupid. But we get it. She wants to be able to feel and touch people, but it's all very flat. And then we get Jean and Magneto's talk as we see that Magneto and his merry band of mutants have taken shelter in the middle of the woods, where they can easily be seen through radar, which they later are. But yeah, Magneto's trying to, I guess, talk Jean into this whole conversation, this whole movement, and making sure she's down for the cause. But Jean doesn't give a fuck about any of this. Like, Jean is literally just standing there this entire movie. And you can tell she doesn't care about the cure. She doesn't care the professor's dead. She's just standing around having no type of say in any of this. And it's really annoying to see. And then also, again, there's a deleted scene where instead of her taking that gun apart, she like nearly radiates half of Magneto's men and they start burning. But they took that out, I guess, because at that point she would have been too powerful, or it wouldn't have made sense for them to keep her around.
That was kind of offensive. Like, she's this cosmic entity, and she's just so easily manipulated by Eric.
Yeah. Easily manipulated by men. Like, let's get into that.
Mm-hmm.
But then for it to be them, like the two men that she's probably trusted the most. And again, another source of commentary that they're not having that they could really delve deep into, like, you know, like which I think Dark Phoenix tried to do, but it was still trash. And then that's when they're having the talk about the school shutting down, and Iceman is again trash because he didn't even question why Rogue wasn't in the meeting because it seemed like that should have been a meeting she was in on. Oh, and then this was the part where, so when Rogue leaves, I remember back with like the whole fan fiction thing I was saying earlier, I wrote a fan fiction that was like a mini like love quadrangle, and it was Iceman who was with Rogue, and it takes place within the movie. It was like a retelling of this movie, building up to the Alcatraz battle. So Iceman and Rogue obviously together, and then Colossus has like a thing for Rogue, and Rogue kind of slightly has a crush on him, and she finds out that she can kind of touch Colossus and not kill him. And Kitty is kind of like, it seems like she's into Iceman, but really she's just like, no, fuck all of you. And I don't know. I think that would have been really cool to have a dynamic between the younger team because we never see them interact outside of when it calls for the plot or when they need to stand around and look stupid. And I don't know. There's something about the idea of Rogue and Colossus that appealed to me back then, and I thought that was the fact that he knew that she left. Was like, what was he watching her? Was he checking her out? Did he know? Did he try to stop her? You know.
That was like Colossus's only line in this movie.
Yeah, what did he say? Yeah, she headed out an hour ago. What did he say? She took off. Yeah, she took off. Oh, then yeah, that's when Wolverine tries to go after Dean and he fights. Oh no, that hasn't happened yet. No, this is when he is about to go after her, and then Storm and Logan have their talk. And again, I feel like reading somewhere in here that like when the movie was in production, X-Men: The Last Stand, or whatever was going to be originally the working title, was going to actually be a rated R movie. And they said one of the reasons it was going to be rated R because there was going to be a graphic sex scene between Storm and Wolverine. And I wondered if this was going to be the moment where they were actually going to do it. And then they, of course, show all the outcry of people who are lining up to get the cure. And I don't know, it just all feels very stupid that Rogue does actually take the cure in the movie. I think just in terms of proper storytelling, this whole movie is framed like Rogue is not going to end up taking the cure. So the fact that she ends up taking it makes that subplot even more stupid and pointless. And the fact that Iceman showed up to the wrong testing or the wrong cure site for her just again shows that he's just a shitty, out of tune gay boyfriend. He didn't want to find that girl. He didn't want to find her. But who did he run into? His lover, Pyro.
It's funny because it's true.
Pyro lives better.
And then they also gave him highlights.
Yeah.
He was letting the gay slip out a little bit. Oh, I also wrote that, yeah, if you're a huge Wolverine fan, which, Jack, I don't know if you've ever done this before because this applies to you. If you're a huge Wolverine fan, you can literally put on all of these X-Men movies and just masturbate for hours. That's what I said in reference to the scene of him fighting all of these mutants in this one forest, because all these movies are Wolverine porn. Like, let's call it what it is. All Wolverine porn.
I was thinking about that, not the masturbating part, but I was like, wow, this movie's just another Wolverine movie too, because like none of the other X-Men had like any screen time. Even though I love Wolverine a lot,
Yeah.
I just feel like this wasn't his movie. This wasn't supposed to be his movie.
All the films are just Wolverine and the X-Men, which is ironic because the actual comic run and actual TV show Wolverine and the X-Men was better than the movies that tried to be that.
These are not lies.
I'm still trying to figure out why Jean has not tried to kill Logan. Are they trying to say that Jean loves Wolverine more than she ever loved Scott or the Professor? Because I feel like as many times as he's come at her in this movie, he definitely should have been dead.
Yeah. Which is why I felt like it was out of character. I mean, I understand Professor X dying
Yeah.
because he fucked her mind up, but
Yeah.
it makes no sense for her to kill Scott.
That's why I think she blasted him somewhere. He's safe somewhere, and like some farmer people picked him up too. That's the other alternative story, that like maybe she wiped his mind and took away his power, so now he's okay, and she just blasted him somewhere. Yeah. Yeah.
No, he's definitely dead. That's why she wanted to die. I think the Dark Phoenix is who wanted Wolverine.
Because yeah, it's all pure desire and rage and passion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, Cyclops is boring. I want that animal cock. Okay.
Ew.
But no, Wolverine's perfect.
For someone who's lived that long, I mean, granted, I know his memories are gone, but like for someone who's lived that long, that aspect is in him to just wild out, and they just do not explore that. So the fact that like her death has such a profound impact on him in the Wolverine is kind of ridiculous to me, because they don't even fuck at any point in these movies.
I kind of got what they were trying to go for with the Dark Phoenix. Instead of it being cosmic energy, they were like trying to make it seem like Jean was like mentally ill, and she was suffering from like a multiple personality disorder.
Yeah.
And the Professor like subdued the dark personality of her. It could have been done a lot better.
For this version of it, for this more grounded version of it, it makes sense for it to be a split personality. It's just handled really badly. I don't know. I feel like this is one of those things where if they tried to go extra deep in it, it'd be like one of those things with the Joker, how the Joker turned into like that whole thing where it's like, oh yeah, you need to not ignore people with mental disorders, but at the same time, I'm gonna kill everybody because I'm sad and no one understands me. If they really wanted to like play up something with that with the Dark Phoenix, they really could have of it being like, if they wanted to play up with like mental disorders or how that can be handled on the flip side and how people try to come in and change you and flip that over and stuff. I think that could have been a really interesting way they could have played it up. I'm not by any means endorsing the Joker. I actually really can't stand the Joker and the praise that it's got. I get what it is for a movie, but I think the overall message for it was really annoying and pretentious and handled poorly also. But still, if they wanted to go deep with that, with the Last Stand to that level, they could have. Oh, I said Mystique invented Hot Girl Summer when she betrayed Magneto. Yo, that's a thing. The villains in this movie, other than Jean, they get off really easily. I don't know if that was planned. Like even later on, we can come back to that with like Magneto, but later on, Magneto is just chilling in a park, and I don't. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. So Mystique ends up being useful because she ends up giving all of Magneto's information over, because you know that's what you do. Don't fuck over someone who knows all your intel, you dumbass old man. So,
I thought using multiple man as a distraction instead of using him as your army was dumb.
yeah.
Like literally, you could have this man make like up to 1 million clones of himself, and he could have swarmed the freaking facility himself. And if the cure darts hit him or his clones, it wouldn't really have any effect because they're just little clones of him.
So then that's when I guess they start gearing up to get ready to go to Alcatraz, because they realize that Magneto's on the move. He knows where the cure is and they're coming after it, blah, 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 blah. So then that's when the whole team rallies up to go to Alcatraz, and they have this whole team building moment that was not present throughout the film whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
We never see any type of dynamic between them. When they team up, it's just like, it feels very unearned. What did we see them do to become this team? I don't get it. They need to stay and mention their kids. And honestly, I think this lineup, y'all tell me if you disagree, totally fine, but I think this lineup is kind of dry. I think the only people there who have any real impact would be like probably Wolverine, Storm, and Beast. And I'm talking about this version of the team. I think this is a pretty dry lineup.
Underutilized.
I was really bothered by that whole like speech that Wolverine was giving them. I was like, this is way out of character for Wolverine, and Storm should be giving the speech.
Yep. There's like an alternate scene too. Like literally everything about this movie is slightly better with their deleted or alternate scenes. There's that alternate scene where that this conversation happens, but Wolverine is saying to them like, no, we're going to war. If we go to war, you might not come home. She might not come home. Are you ready for that? Like he's telling them like, yo, you might go die. They should have kept that speech as opposed to whatever the fuck he said to them about being we're X-Men. Get the fuck out of here. What?
Like I thought the whole thing should have been reversed between Storm and Wolverine. Like Storm should have given the speech, and then Storm should have turned to Wolverine and been like, said something, and Wolverine could have been like, they're ready, and then Storm could have been like, but are you ready? I don't know. It was just way out of character for me. Like it was rough.
And Storm's just chilling there. She's just the team auntie. I hate that. She's the leader, and she's just standing off to the side.
The black auntie of the group.
Huh?
She's the black auntie of the group.
Yeah, and then not giving. She's the black auntie, but at the same time, she don't want to be bothered with any of them. I feel like if anybody on that team tries to talk to her, hang out, she's just like,
Get the fuck out.
She was just angry this whole movie. Yeah, this whole trilogy, she's just angry.
I think she's justly angry in the cure existing, but again, they don't explore that with her. They don't take the moment for her to really see her perspective on the cure. All the times,
she should have gone after Rogue.
Yeah, that would have been great if she went after her.
Yeah.
I told you, child, there was nothing wrong with you.
And I told you, Professor Monroe, this is how I feel about my powers. I can't.
You should have had Storm and Nightcrawler go out.
Nightcrawler's not in the movie.
I know, but if he was in the movie, they should have added him for the scene. And then they could have reconnected with the human Mystique to give that background and shit. And then she could help them prepare for the final battle.
This podcast shouldn't be called Case of the X. It should be called Waste of the X.
The last Stagger and fall.
So then the Golden Gate Bridge. Magneto's clever plan to take a bridge, use it as a bridge instead of dropping it on the facility that he wants to destroy. Again, Jean is just a walking zombie amongst Magneto's brotherhood. I don't even think she knows.
Like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then once he drops the bridge, it's finally nighttime. It goes from being like daytime to nighttime as soon as you go into the island.
I was really annoyed by that because they literally had a deleted scene that showed the transition between day and night.
So then they arrive and everyone gets ready, and then we have all these random mutants who can fly. They just can fly. We don't know what they do. And then of course the humans have plastic guns. Like Magneto is so surprised that they have plastic guns now. He's like, oh, they've learned. Like, no shit. They know who you are, man.
That's why we don't make videos.
Yo, he gives himself away in this entire movie, and it's so sad. Like, he is really...
You are not safe. Prepare for battle.
I hated his whole battle plan in that movie. Like, he was just like, in chess, the pawns go first. But, like, Magneto would never just sacrifice another mutant. I mean, he would, but not like his whole army. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, he would.
Like, he would only sacrifice a mutant, like, if it bettered the rest of mutant kind, like in the first film. But no, he's just like, just let them shoot him.
I'm sorry, I'm really still stuck on the idea that Magneto is literally losing his mind throughout the movie, and nobody wants to tell him. Okay, so then we have this whole battle at Alcatraz. Literally everyone is horribly teamed up with fighting these random mismatched bad guys.
The very forced Storm and Callisto feud that happens in this movie is just like so weird. Because, in the comics, their whole thing is that Storm ends up defeating Callisto and gaining control or the ruler of the Morlocks, and they have a whole on again, off again enemy thing. But in this, it just gives off, oh, we're like the second fiddle, women of color. That means we got to square up every time we see each other. And it's just like, why? What is your backstory? Oh, right, they're not gonna give any that to any of us. They're just gonna have you guys fight.
You literally have Wolverine, Beast, and Colossus on the same battlefield as Juggernauts, and you matched him up with Kitty.
I do hate that Warren Worthington Jr. or the second, whatever. I hate that he lived and Kavita Rao died. But of course, that's just what happens in these movies.
I'm mad Psylocke got ruined. Terrible. Like, you can even tell it's supposed to be Psylocke. Yeah. She has the purple hair and she has her freaking scar from the comics. The disrespect. The lack of knowledge from the source material.
Well, that's the thing with these movies. I don't know if Brett Ratner, well, I'm assuming he probably didn't either, but Bryan Singer for sure. I remember part of his like rule on set was that nobody was allowed to read a comic. Like they weren't allowed to pick up any type of X-Men reading material. Again, they show them all together like this, and they still don't properly show them working together as a team. It's just all these missed opportunities to see the dynamic of how they can work in battle. It's like, I think that's what's cool about the X-Men is that they know how to bounce off each other when they're in battle, and they don't do that at all. Like that idea of like Iceman and Storm creating icicles, that would be really dope. And we don't see that. They just have their own little side mini fights with random mutant villain number one.
Well, I was upset that Angel's storyline didn't go anywhere, and after he saved his dad, he didn't go back and join the fight. Let me just save my rich daddy because I need his money.
Yep. He should have dropped his dad off and landed, and they should have had a heart-to-heart moment. Like, it's just like, hey, Dad, yeah, this is who I am, and clearly I saved your ass, blah, 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 blah. He's like, no, I'm going to go fight. And the dad's like, no, you shouldn't have to be with those people. He's like, Dad, I am those people.
And flies off. He could have easily flew Rogan, too, if she decided not to take in the cure.
Yep.
You could have tied in all three storylines there with the Cure and the Phoenix and have Angel save his dad. First bring Rogue into the battle. We wouldn't know that yet. Have him save his dad, drop him off, and fly back into the battle. And Rogue could literally sneak up and take Jean and Magneto out. But, you know, what do I know?
It would have been a good coming of age for Rogue. Yeah.
Waste of X. Dun, dun, dun. I did like this. I don't know if you guys noticed it. When Beast does, like when they sneak up behind Magneto and use the cure on him, I really like that Kelsey Grammer, I don't know if it was directed obviously or not, but I like that Kelsey Grammer has that moment where he looks at the cure gun and he's like, I used that. And he like just throws it away because he's disgusted. Even if it was to stop Magneto. Again, Jean is just standing there. She's like, oh, that crazy old guy got taken out. Oh, well. It's not until the army dudes just try to post up behind her, and she's just like, oh, hold the fuck up. And then everything just goes to shit, and she just eviscerates everything and everyone.
She was so stiff when she was flying, too.
The wire work in all the X-Men movies are pretty bad. So then, of course, we get the moment where, as Jean is destroying everything, Wolverine finally makes his way up to her, and she's Jean one last time and tells him to save her, and then he kills her, and then the day is saved. And you know how the day is saved? Because there's a happy ending to the movie with the happy music playing.
That bugs me so much watching it.
You see the kids coming back to start a new session. I guess everyone accepts mutants more or something. And there's just happy music as we see that 3 prominent X-Men characters are dead. And then that 2 no longer have their powers anymore. Rogue doesn't have her powers anymore. Magneto is just an old senile man. And Logan's looking out because he knows everything's going to be all right. But yeah, so yeah, we get the wrap up of the movie where we see Magneto crazy and old and now powerless is playing chess, but then we see the possibility of his power coming back. And apparently in this universe, like I said earlier, they just let known criminals go because he's literally just sitting in a park. So do y'all think that like he just got away and he was just in hiding, or do you think the government knows and they're like, this is punishment enough?
I don't know. I really don't know. I want to say he got away, but I don't know how he would.
Well, that brings us to the end of X-Men: The Last Stand. We got three.
Wait, don't forget the after credit scene.
Oh yeah. Another pioneering thing that they set up, the X-Men: The Last Stand set up with these superhero movies, is the post-credit scene of Xavier appearing in the aforementioned comatose man. And of course, this is another dangling plot thread in these movies that doesn't really get clarified on, because Xavier obviously ends up being alive later on in Days of Future Past. And there's been some debate on if the guy is his twin brother. But then it's like, well, if that's his twin brother, why is he in a wheelchair again? And, where was his twin brother before? What? Yeah. So.
Oh my god. Just imagine Xavier just jumping out the window to break his legs again.
I have to feel the same. Do you guys have any final thoughts on X-Men: The Last Stand? And then what are your ratings for it?
That was a hot mess. The CGI effects aged well, okay? They put budget into the effects and they brought on a couple of new people. But the plot was a mess. I would have to say a 4. 4 out of 10. I'm not being generous.
This is easily one of the worst Marvel films to date. All the characters have been wasted. The plot, there's like 3 or 4 plot threads that are set up at the beginning that are completely dropped by the final act. It assassinates about every character in the comics. And it's just not a good movie. I'd have to give it a 4 out of 10.
I will give it 4 out of 10 as being an X-Men movie, because yes, it's pretty horrible, terrible. It's a pretty bad X-Men movie. So for this to have been an action movie to have come out in 2006 and it was a superhero movie, I will say in terms of that, I will say that it's a solid 5 to 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that concludes our talk about X-Men: The Last Stand.
And of course, if you stuck around with us and you actually enjoyed Last Stand, our word isn't law. You're allowed to like the movie. We just did not.